All right, Mr. Booker.
Environmental, that's what it sounds like. I'm a big fan of solar energy. I'm a big fan of atmospheric water. I'm also a big fan of hydroponic farming. I'm also a big fan of aquaponics farming as well. All those things are off the grid. If everyone has access to solar, if they had access to their own water, this snowstorm and its effect will not affect them at all. These opportunities are somewhat affordable. If you look at the scenario of providing solar and water, it's a one-time fee of $40,000. Some people have cars just as much as $40,000. So imagine if you had an air conditioned unit and a water unit, and of course a solar unit at your home, you would not be affected by the grid at all.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Booker. Ms. Villanueva.
So there are a lot of elements that come into play when we talk about the grid. Probably the most important thing is to hold these folks accountable all the way down into the local level, our current CPS, our city council, other elected officials. There are a number of things that should have been done. The tragedies that we experienced should not have happened. Moving outside of that, we currently have several plans. The SA Tomorrow and the Climate Action Adaptation Plan have some very key elements to help support environmental opportunities for all people, no matter what level of income they have. We need to capitalize on providing energy, any sort of electricity, heating, and what have you for our community as a whole. We've got to do more. We've got to step up and help our neighbors. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Ms. Villanueva. And going in reverse order, Mr. Dawkins.
Good question. First of all, I will say it's a state issue. It's not a local issue. Even if our CPS, who if we wanted them to do something, they are a part of the Texas grid, which would prevent them from doing anything. One of the things that could be done, or that I think that should be done, is that CPS should also have local districts, just the same way that we have local districts in some of our other organizations around town. So there's nobody from District 2 to support or to advocate for District 2 except on council. And I think that that's something that could be done. I would like to fire whoever's in charge of ERCOT. They need to be fired. Number two is that winterize all of those plants, whether they be fossil plants or whether they be solar plants. I have solar panels on my house and I do believe in solar. So there's a lot of things that could be done, but mainly this is a state issue.
Thank you, Mr. Dawkins. Mr. Darden.
Mr. Dawkins, thank you for that springboard, because what you said is basically how I'm going to respond, but a little bit different. I agree that it's not a city council per se situation, but I think being an elected official, you have to learn how to leverage that position. And so it was obvious that the council members, the mayor, even the commissioners and the judge really had no clue what was going on. That shows you the disconnect that we have in our different levels of elected leaders. So for me, I would like to see more of a fluid line of communication between all levels of elected officials here in our state, local, county, and statewide, because there's no way for all these things to be impacting the residents when nobody knows what's going on. And so for me, and I'm pretty sure everybody else will have some great ideas, but how I would attack this situation is, number one, the people responsible for it have more information. So when people ask what's going on, they'll have an answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Darden. Mr. McKee Rodriguez.
Yes, so we definitely need to push our state leaders to join the East, West, or both sides of the country's grid. Right now, they are holding us back, and I'm ready to work with our state leaders to push for that. We also need to winterize our infrastructure, including solar and wind energy. And we need to improve our disaster plans on a city level. That's something we can do right now. We should have had warming shelters ready. We should have had teams ready to do wellness checks. And who picked that up? Community members. those organizations who led mutual aid efforts. And if the city was going to mess up on such a grand level, they should have recognized their errors sooner, communicated that, and supported the organizations who are on the ground already, rather than trying to find photo ops and opportunities to get on the news every other day. And I'd say also the committee that Anna Sandoval proposed to investigate the response failures now includes people from city staff and council members when they were the ones who messed up. That committee needs to be made up of community leaders who are on the ground.
All right, thank you, Mr. McKee Rodriguez. Ms. Cleaver?
Yes, so you cannot necessarily control things that are not in your power. And so this is a state level situation. However, the city dropped the ball. Unfortunately, we spend well, not unfortunately, but every day we get a 6:30 update on what's going on with COVID. I know for a fact that people knew that we were going to have a tough week as far as our winter and our temperatures were going to be. We should have gotten more safety tips, more things to take care of our house, ways to let people know to get the elderly and folks into different homes so people aren't traveling on ice, the warming centers, the food centers set up beforehand, because there was information that you knew. So at the end of the day, even though you might not have control over everything at a certain level, you do have control over things on a city level, and that's taking care of your citizens. And you should have prepared your citizens as best you can, and then been out there during the storm, not when it's 68 degrees and everybody's electricity is back on. What were people doing during the storm?
Thank you, Ms. Cleaver. Ms. Brown?
And addressing this is there's so many things that can be done better. One of the things, they say they want to fire everybody, they want them to resign. Yes and no on that. When those people leave, they leave with the knowledge of what's going on, what could have taken place, what could have been fixed. So those people, they need to be accountable. They need to be there. So as they're giving their, say, 3-month timeline to get out, they're passing the information on that they knew for the person who's coming in. One of the things that we could have done on the local level is we could have utilized like our schools, our elementary schools, whatever school is in the neighborhood. So those people who don't have transportation, those that are on dialysis, they need electricity, get them to the schools, have something set up where we can have generators in those facilities to help those people that they can continue their dialysis or whatever else that they need at that moment.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. And finally, Mr. Clark.
Thank you. Like many of the other candidates, I agree that it's not in the city's purview to actually handle or address that issue. However, where I feel that we failed at is in not being prepared. They had from February 8th to plan for this, and all the way on February 14th, we still got caught behind the ball. I feel that we should have had the warming shelters in place ahead of time. We should have had the winterizing of our equipment. We have to make sure that we're not putting all our eggs in one basket when it comes to how we deal with energy. We need to make sure that we have all available resources in our city ready to go at any moment's notice. CPS should have had enough generators to back up whatever system they had that were failing. So I don't like pointing fingers. What I will say is that if I was the city council member when this took place, there would have been planning. We would have had a community response team in place. We would have had everything we needed stocked up, ready to roll out.
All right, time. All right, the next question for all of the candidates is, how do you think we can enhance District 2 without evicting our own people who already live in the community?
That's an excellent question. We're going to start in the middle this time and sort of circle around, make sure everybody gets an opportunity to speak as early as they can. We'll start with you, Mr. McKee Rodriguez.
Definitely. So I think one of the biggest things that's stood out to me as I've researched council races in the past and as I've looked into the history of our district and in the city of San Antonio is that our council members have been bought by developers. The developers get to pick and choose every single council member, and that, you know, they get their way with the land in District 2. They get to put up their high-rise luxury apartments and push out the neighbors and push us out of our homes. When what we really need, they get to put up gas stations and car washes everywhere with no concern for what we actually need. They're making us a pit stop, not a destination that we deserve to be. We deserve things that are for us, that are going to help us, that we can work in. Movie theaters, like I was talking about, the shopping centers, bowling alleys. These are things that my kids have said, you know, we're only out here because we don't have anything else to do. Where do you want us to go? And I think that's one easy thing, is that kind of development.
All right, thank you, Mr. McKee Rodriguez. Ms. Brown?
I'm sorry, I was distracted there. But one of the things that has been kind of curious to me, I do want to see the neighborhoods, the neighborhoods development, but we also have to help the people that are here already and see what's going on with their houses, their homes, how they can have that pride in what they value. If they value it, I think the more you have, the more rental income you have versus home ownership, there's a lack of, they don't care because it's not theirs. And so we got to get back. I know, you know, generations before us, you know, had homes. Yes, I came from being my mom on assisted living to homeowners to me being a homeowner, because that's how I was raised, you know, that it was there. I'm glad that it's there for the people who need it.
Time.
I want to encourage the people to have more.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. I am impressed with the slate of candidates available to District 2 this cycle, definitely. All right, next we'll go with Mr. Dawkins.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope I can address this. First of all, I think this is a question that really helps to define and separate us. I am for development. I definitely am for development in our area. You can really take and make affordable housing and make it in such a way where you're not pushing people out of their homes. There was a program in the city of Pittsburgh where they took a place like King William District and put low-income people in there with a federal program called Hope 6. And the way they did it, which I thought was very novel, and I think that all cities around America should adopt it, is in a way where you're not making it affordable housing, you're making the housing affordable. So those banks and different people that work with affordable housing, they're buying down the rent as opposed to trying to
Right, that's time.
let the person pay a lower amount of money for it.
Thank you, Mr. Dawkins. Mr. Booker.
Tic-tac-toe here. What I believe when it comes to for the housing, I think it needs to be creative. The place where I live right now is an abandoned warehouse. We have several elementary, middle school, high school buildings that are vacant. That is an opportunity for folks that are in need of housing. They could go there. So understandably, if you're in your home and if you're over 65, your taxes are reduced. If you are prior military, your taxes, depending on your disability, if you're 100% disability on your military, you don't pay tax. So it's a knowledge gap that we want to consider.
I was just going to try to do the self-cleaning.
Excuse me. Whoever is there, you need to mute.
I need to learn how that works.
And I believe that's Cassandra Littlejohn.
Zoom call. How you doing?
Hi, you need to mute yourself. All right, I'll give you extra time.
So yeah, again, it just depends on the creativity, this process on how do we handle housing. There's some opportunities, you know, in my building as an example, who would ever thought you would have this many housing opportunities in an abandoned warehouse? These opportunities, along with developers, are going to be required if we're going to take care of this community. We have assets. Let's use them.
All right.
All right, thank you, Mr. Booker. And we'll go to Mr. Darden.
Thank you. So just trying to just bring something fresh, because again, everybody has some great ideas.